Hey, do you want to know what 5 absurd beliefs were held by Jehovah's Witnesses? Stay tuned and subscribe for more. And watch until the end because the last one affects me personally. Now, the history of belief and doctrine with regard to the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Watchtower Society reads like a chameleon on a Smarties box, or for those in North America, a chameleon on a Rockets candy pile. And some of these beliefs have been just plain absurd and without any scriptural backing, scientifically or scripturally. Watch until the end because one of them has a particular bearing on me. So let's dive into them. The first one is beards. It's unusual to see a Jehovah's Witness with a beard, and it's practically unheard of for a bearded brother to hold a position of responsibility in English-speaking countries. Despite this, the Watchtower has rarely mentioned the beard rule in the Watchtower. The Watchtower's anti-beard instruction is limited to generalizations concerning beards, anecdotes of persons who removed their beards after conversion to the Jehovah's Witness faith, and a lack of bearded witnesses in Watchtower publications. It has been followed as a result of social identity pressure rather than by direct decree. Now, this standard dates back to Rutherford's time. Modern-day witnesses are never depicted with a beard in Watchtower literature. A typical Watchtower congregation of clean-shaven males in ties are always depicted in the literature. Now, a beard, on the other hand, is not unusual when a worldly person is depicted in a bad manner. In 1968, it was directed that beards would detract from the Watchtower message. And notice this quote from Watchtower 1968, May the 12th. In recent years, in many lands, a beard or long hair on a man attracts immediate notice and may, in the minds of the majority, classify such a person undesirably with extremists or as rebels against society. God's ministers want to avoid making any impression that would take attention away from their ministry or hinder anyone from listening to the truth. They know that people are watching true Christians very critically and that to a great extent they judge the entire congregation and the good news by the minister's appearance as a representative of the congregation. A vague directive to shave appears in the 2001 Theocratic Ministry School book, where it states, for men, a neat personal appearance may include being clean-shaven. In areas where moustaches are widely viewed as dignified, any who wear these should keep them neatly trimmed. And that's from Benefit from the Theocratic Ministry School Education, page 133. For assignments at conventions and assemblies, specific instruction is given against using brothers with beards. As this 2009 talk outline demonstrates, under the heading Dress and Grooming, it stated those giving talks should wear suits. If your talk calls for an interview or a demonstration, please do not use any brother who wears a beard and make sure your participants are aware of the importance of good grooming and modest dress. The removal of beards by worldly men during conversion is a more regular topic of discussion. Now, these kinds of events have occurred frequently over the years, as evidenced by the following cases. The Awake of 2007, December the 7th, page 25 says, I shaved off my beard and got a haircut, and Sue bought a few dresses. 4 months later, we were married, and in April 1976, we were baptized in symbol of our dedication to serve God. The next quote from the Watchtower, 1998, January the 1st, says, a Bible study was started with him, and as Bible truth began to affect his heart, the changes he made were visible to all. One of the first evidences of change was that he cut short his long hair and shaved off his straggly beard. Then the Watchtower 1989 says, however, after the young man received the book, there was a remarkable transformation in the lad. He shaved off his beard, cut his hair, and stopped using drugs. Now, what stands out for me is that there is no compelling reason given that a beard is wrong. It uses nothing other than the line of reasoning that brothers must be modest, and some people may view a beard as immodest. Showing a continuing lack of comfort with bearded brothers, in a February 2018 talk, governing body member Stephen Lett suggested that we would not want to insist on the right to a beard if it were to stumble someone.
The Apostle Paul, in verse 13 of that same chapter, he said he wouldn't even eat meat ever again if it stumbled his brother. Well, like Paul, are we willing to forego our rights regarding, for example, wearing a beard, wearing heavy makeup, using alcohol as just a few examples, if exercising that right might even possibly stumble someone?
The tide against beards, on the other hand, had already begun with Rutherford, Watchtower's second leader. Rutherford's shaved head and imposition on the other brothers was an attempt to separate the religion from Russell's leadership. Many did not recognize Rutherford as the proper second head of the Watchtower, and Rutherford took offense when his brethren sported beards in the style of Russell. Check out this comment in the Watchtower regarding this whole incident. Now, this is from the Yearbook of Jehovah's Witnesses, 1974 edition, where it says, "But more equipment was needed. For that reason, Brother Balzerite asked Brother Rutherford for permission to buy a rotary press. Brother Rutherford saw the necessity and agreed, but on one condition. He had noticed that over the years, Brother Balzerite had grown a beard very similar to the one that had been worn by Brother Russell. His example soon caught on, for there were others who also wanted to look like Brother Russell. This could give rise to a tendency toward creature worship, and Brother Rutherford wanted to prevent this. So during his next visit, within hearing of all the Bible House family, he told Brother Balzerite that he could buy the rotary press, but only on the condition that he shave off his beard. Brother Balzerite sadly agreed and afterward went to the barber. During the next few days, there were several cases of mistaken identity and some funny situations because of the stranger who was sometimes not recognized by his fellow workers. Now this smacks of control and gives us a glimpse into the character of Rutherford. Excessive behavioral control is an indication of a totalitarian regime and common amongst religions using persuasive coercion. The next absurd belief was with regard to vegetarianism. Now, Watchtower teaches that God created humans and all animals as vegetarians, changing them only after Noah's flood, and vegetarianism is destined again for paradise earth. Humans and animals did not begin to eat meat until 1,600 years after Adam's sin at the conclusion of Noah's global flood. It is unclear why animals began preying on each other fewer than 4,500 years ago, or why certain creatures are more suited to being predators than others. When you consider how important the food chain is to all life on the planet, this is a significant notion. Now, this quote from Awake magazine teaches that animals and humans were originally vegetarian. And it states, "When God created humans and animals to live on this earth, He did not purpose for them to be killers. They were created to have peaceful relations with one another. None of the animals in the Garden of Eden were killers. They were not a threat to man, nor was man a threat to any animal, nor violence or killing for food among animals or man. The animals who had a vegetarian diet in Eden, as did humans, began to live off one another, some even eating humans when possible." Now, these statements are glaringly contradictory, as Watchtower cannot say humans and animals were vegetarian due to any rules against hunting, as Jehovah allowed humans to kill animals for use in sacrifice and for clothing. This story in my book of Bible stories, story 6, says, "One day Cain and Abel bring a gift to God. Cain brings some food he has grown, and Abel brings the very best sheep he has. Jehovah is pleased with Abel and his gift, but he is not pleased with Cain and his gift." Insight on the Scriptures, Volume 1, page 110 says, "Already prior to the flood, animals were killed to provide clothing for man and for sacrificial purposes. However, not until after the deluge did Noah and his family receive permission from Jehovah to add flesh to their diet, with the stipulation that it must be drained of its blood. The addition of meat to the diet of humans and animals is said to have commenced just 4,500 years ago after Noah left the ark. The Awake says this: originally God provided only vegetation as food for man, but more than 1,600 years later, after the flood of Noah's day, God said, every moving animal that is alive may serve as food for you. As in the case of green vegetation, I do give it all to you. Animals have an amazing array of traits that help them as predators, such as powerful jaws and venom and poisons, or that help them avoid predators such as camouflage. In striking contrast, it is to its theory that all creatures were meant to eat vegetation, Watchtower details a variety of animals that demonstrate extraordinary design characteristics to aid it in capturing and killing prey, as carnivores like the crocodile, cobra, anaconda, and eagle are extraordinarily well adapted. Now, the question Jehovah's Witnesses should really be asking is, why was the crocodile's jaw designed to crush and devour animals, or an eagle's eye to spot the slight movements of a rabbit if God created them vegetarian? Why is the cobra equipped with lethal venom and the anaconda designed to swallow prey, not chew on straw? Now, Watchtower asserts that all animal life was vegetarian until just a few thousand years ago, confounding logic and all available evidence in an attempt to have a literal understanding of Scripture. It is commonly established that there were omnivores and carnivores roaming the earth long before humans. Now, animals began preying on one another at a time when animal life was at its lowest ebb, according to the Watchtower, as the few remaining stock of animals fled Noah's Ark. There is no Watchtower theory with more evidence against it than that of a global flood, as demonstrated by Noah's global flood, and so the concept of vegetarianism is further undercut by attaching it to the doctrine of a global flood. Vaccinations or anti-vaccinations was another absurd belief of the Watchtower. From 1929 through to 1952, the Golden Age published anti-vaccination literature. Vaccinations were described as ineffective, dangerous from a medical standpoint, and morally wrong from a biblical perspective. Notice this quote from the Golden Age in 1921. Vaccination never prevented anything and never will, and is the most barbarous practice. We are in the last days, and the devil is slowly losing his hold, making a strenuous effort meanwhile to do all the damage he can. And to his credit can such evils be placed. Use your rights as American citizens to forever abolish the devilish practice of vaccinations. Now, this was partially supported on the basis that blood byproducts could not be used. As stated in these quotes, vaccination is a direct violation of the everlasting covenant that God made with Noah after the flood. Of all the inventions that have been foisted upon mankind for their defilement, the most subtly devilish is that of vaccination. The Golden Age of 1931, February the 4th issue, devoted 10 pages to why vaccinations were not for Christians. The index page to the 1931 article claimed this as the viewpoint of the Creator. This is a cartoon depiction of dead and pockmarked newborns beneath a clergy-like image. In actuality, vaccinations were largely responsible for the elimination of smallpox. With minimal medical expertise, the society went about scaring the public into believing that vaccinations were harmful. As a result of their refusal to receive vaccines, some witness children in America were expelled from school. Legal concerns seemed to be a factor behind the Watchtower Society reversing its position and allowing vaccinations from the 1950s. As seen in this Watchtower of 1952, the matter of vaccination is one for the individual that has to face it to decide for himself. And our society cannot afford to be drawn into the affair legally or take the responsibility for the way the case turns out. Vaccinations are allowed by Watchtower provided a particular vaccine complies with Watchtower blood policy. Once again, for followers who are trained to accept everything coming from the organization as food from Jehovah, this has potentially led to needless loss of witness lives. The next belief that was very strange is the use of aluminium that was described as a cause of cancer and insanity, as noted in this quote. As a result of the publication of wholesome truth on the subject, there are fewer people now purchasing aluminium cooking utensils than heretofore. There is also a pronounced drop in the cancer death rate. Much aluminium used, many cancers; less aluminium used, fewer cancers. And then it goes on to state, aluminium cooking utensils are a curse to humanity, and their manufacture and use should be forbidden by law. They even credited the regaining of sight to discontinuing the use of aluminium cookware, as seen in this quote. Remarkable recovery of sight. I was blind and couldn't work, said Ellen Williams of Georgia. My arms would fall dead at my side and my whole right side became useless. 2 years ago I discarded my aluminium ware and my eyesight has come back. I don't use glasses now and am regaining use of my body gradually. I am 65 years of age. Thanks to the Golden Age for this information. And of course, images like this graced the pages of the Golden Age magazine. Now the next one is particularly amusing as it affects me personally. And this is to do with baldness. Now I'm going to quote this statement from the Golden Age, 1924, November the 19th. It says, "The bobbed hair craze is sure to lead to baldness sooner or later. The reason for this is that human hair is like a tube sealed at the free end. When the hair is cut, the oils which are the life of the hair become dissipated. The reason why men grow bald so quickly is that they have their hair cut so frequently, and in addition wear tightly fitting hats which cut off the circulation of the scalp. The reason why women hitherto have had such beautiful hair is that they have not cut it, and the twisting and folding of the hair has helped to regain the natural oil. Many women have turned against the fashion of bobbing the hair and are letting their hair grow again." So either I wore my hair in a bob for far too long in the 80s, or I cut my hair too frequently back then and wore too many tight-fitting hats. And it's quite amusing because this myth about wearing tight-fitting hats that can lead to baldness still permeates through society today. See? Proof that this apostate did not follow the advice handed down by the Watchtower Society and has suffered the consequences. That's the show. Please don't forget to subscribe and press the like button if you like this content. And until next time, bye for now.